Admiral Frank Morrison stood at the large window of the space station orbiting Earth. His weathered face reflected in the glass as he stared at the stars. 58 years old, with gray hair and deep wrinkles around his eyes, he had served in Earth's defense forces for over 30 years. He never expected to be the man in charge when aliens finally made contact. "Admiral, they're coming out of lightspeed," said Lieutenant Diane Parker. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she handed him the data pad. Morrison took a deep breath. "Alert all stations. Keep weapons powered down. We don't want to appear threatening." Across the command center, dozens of officers watched their screens as 5 massive ships appeared near Mars. The ships were unlike anything humans had built. They looked like giant crystals, with smooth surfaces that reflected sunlight in rainbow patterns. Each ship was at least 3 miles long. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said Communications Officer Peter Grant. Young and technically brilliant, Grant had been the first to detect the alien signals 3 days ago. "Put it through," Morrison ordered. The main screen flickered. A being appeared. It had scaly blue-gray skin, 4 eyes set in a wide face and a mouthful of small, sharp teeth. Gold markings covered its forehead and cheeks. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am High Commander Zex Kaltar of the Draconian Empire. We come seeking peaceful relations between our civilizations." Morrison stepped forward. "I am Admiral Frank Morrison of Earth's United Defense Force. We welcome you to our solar system and look forward to peaceful discussions." Behind him, Ambassador Sophia Williams entered the command center. Tall and composed with dark skin and silver-streaked black hair, Williams had been quickly appointed as Earth's official representative when the aliens were first detected. "High Commander," she said, moving next to Morrison. "I am Ambassador Williams. We suggest meeting on our neutral space station Harmony to discuss relations between our peoples." Zex Kaltar seemed to consider this. "Acceptable. We will send a delegation in 6 Earth hours. Prepare for our arrival." The screen went dark. Morrison turned to Williams. "I don't like this. They showed up without warning and already speak our language perfectly." Williams nodded. "They've been watching us for some time, clearly, but we need to appear open to diplomacy. The scans show their technology is far beyond ours." "Which is exactly what worries me," Morrison said. "Get me the Security Council. We need to prepare for all possibilities." 6 hours later, Morrison and Williams stood in the main docking bay of the Harmony station, located in neutral space between Earth and the Moon. With them were 20 officers and the heads of Earth's 5 major regions. Everyone wore formal diplomatic attire rather than military uniforms, a show of peaceful intentions. A sleek shuttle docked with the station. The airlock door opened and 6 Draconians entered. They were taller than most humans, with powerful bodies covered in ceremonial armor that seemed to shift colors as they moved. Zex Kaltar led them, easily identified by the elaborate gold patterns on his face. "Welcome to Harmony Station," Williams said, stepping forward with her hand extended in greeting. Zex Kaltar ignored her hand. "Your accommodations are acceptable. We will begin discussions immediately." They moved to the conference room, a large, circular space with windows looking out toward Earth. The Draconians sat on one side of the table, the humans on the other. "Let me be direct," Williams said. "We're interested in establishing peaceful trade and cultural exchange. Earth has much to offer and we're eager to learn about your civilization." Zex Kaltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Yes. Cultural exchange, very important." He made a gesture to one of his officers. Morrison noticed the movement. His instincts, honed by decades of military service, sensed something wrong. He shifted slightly, one hand moving toward the emergency signal button hidden under the table. Without warning, the lights flickered. The station's alarms began blaring. "What's happening?" Williams demanded. Morrison's communication device buzzed. "Admiral, 3 Draconian warships just appeared. They're attacking our patrol vessels." Zex Kaltar stood, suddenly looking much taller and more menacing. Humans, so predictably naive. He pressed something on his wrist armor. 2 of the Draconian officers pulled weapons from hidden compartments in their armor. Before anyone could react, they fired. Not at people, but at specific points around the room. Energy fields sprang up, trapping the humans. "This meeting is concluded," Zexkaltar said. "The real negotiations can now begin." Through the windows, Morrison and the others watched in horror as energy beams cut through Earth's ships. The UDF Valiant exploded in silence against the blackness of space. The Harmony Station shook as something struck it. "What is the meaning of this?" Williams demanded, her diplomatic calm cracking. "We invited you here in peace." "Peace is for equals," Zexkaltar replied coldly. "You are not our equals. Your species has resources we require. Your planet has a position we desire. You will surrender both." Morrison stepped forward despite the energy field separating them. "Earth will never surrender." "Your resistance is noted," the Draconian commander said, "and irrelevant. We have studied your capabilities extensively. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your defenses cannot stop our attacks." He moved closer to the energy field. "But we are not mindless destroyers. Surrender, and your people may live as our subjects. Resist, and we will take what we want anyway, leaving only ashes." The station shook again. Emergency lights flashed. "Sir!" A voice came through Morrison's communicator. "This is Commander Olivia Reyes on the UDF horizon. We're taking heavy fire. The Valentine and the Apollo are destroyed. What are your orders?" Morrison looked at Zexkaltar, then at Williams. The ambassador gave him a slight nod. "Commander Reyes," Morrison said clearly, "execute Protocol Omega. Get your ship out of there." "Understood, sir," came the reply. "Horizon withdrawing." Zexkaltar made a sound that might have been laughter. "One ship escapes. It changes nothing." "Perhaps," Morrison said evenly. "Or perhaps you don't know humans as well as you think, Commander." Olivia Reyes guided the horizon away from the battle, her hand steady on the controls despite the chaos around her. The ship had taken damage, but its engines were intact. On her screen, she watched the Draconian ships continuing their attack on the station and the remaining Earth vessels. "Record everything," she ordered her crew. "Weapon signatures, shield, configurations, communication frequencies. We need all the data we can get." The science officer, Alan Bradley, worked frantically at his station. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual about their ships when they fire their weapons. There's a specific energy fluctuation in their crystalline structure. Mark it, record it. We'll need every advantage we can get," Reyes said grimly. As Earth's newest and fastest ship, the Horizon had one job now: get back to Earth with what they'd learned. Back on the Harmony Station, Morrison watched as Zexkaltar prepared to leave. "You have 6 Earth days to prepare your surrender terms," the Draconian commander said. "After that, we begin systematic destruction of your military capabilities, one city at a time." "And if we agree to surrender?" Williams asked. "Then you become a productive part of the Draconian Empire. Your resources serve our needs. Your people serve our purposes." Zexkaltar's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Choose wisely, humans." After the Draconians left, taking several human officials as insurance, Morrison turned to Williams in their makeshift prison. "They don't know about the Horizon," he said quietly. Williams nodded. "One ship, not much against their fleet." "It's enough to bring back information," Morrison replied. "And information is how wars are really won." Outside the window, Earth glowed blue and peaceful, unaware that everything had just changed. The war had begun with humanity at a severe disadvantage. But if there was one thing humans had learned, through their violent history, it was how to fight against overwhelming odds. Morrison looked at the stars where the horizon had disappeared. "We're not beaten yet," he whispered. "Not even close." 6 months passed since the Draconians arrived. Earth was losing the war badly. The aliens had taken Mars and set up bases on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. They stripped these places of resources, taking metals, water, and anything else they wanted. Lieutenant General Gregory Martinez watched the latest battle reports in the underground command center beneath Denver, a stocky man with a neatly trimmed beard and serious eyes. Martinez had been put in charge of Earth's military after Admiral Morrison was captured on the Harmony Station. Another defeat, he said quietly, as the screen showed 3 more Earth ships destroyed near Venus. That makes 17 ships lost this month. Colonel Lisa Winters nodded grimly. Her job was to track losses and resources. At this rate, we'll have no space fleet left within 2 weeks. Martinez rubbed his tired eyes. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night since the war began. What about Operation Paper Tiger? Any progress? Winters pressed a button, and the screen changed to show a different set of reports. These were not being broadcast to the public. These were the real plans. Dr. Patel says they're close to a breakthrough. The data Commander Reyes brought back from the first battle has been extremely valuable. The door slid open, and Commander Olivia Reyes herself walked in. Now promoted to captain, Reyes was one of the few officers who had faced the Draconians and survived. Her ship, the Horizon, was hidden on Earth, protected from Draconian scanning technology by a special hangar, deep in the Rocky Mountains. Speaking of the doctor, Reyes said, she wants to see you both immediately, says it's important. They took the secure elevator down to level 12, where the research teams worked day and night. The laboratory was full of equipment salvaged from research centers around the world before the Draconians could destroy them. Dr. Natalie Patel didn't look up when they entered. She was focused on a complex device on her workbench. Small and intense with quick hands and quicker mind, Patel had been a leading quantum physicist before the invasion. Now she was humanity's best hope. Dr. Patel? Martinez said after a moment. She jumped slightly, then turned. Her face broke into a tired smile. It works, she said simply. Martinez stepped closer. The disruptor? You're sure? Patel nodded and pointed to a small device, no bigger than a cell phone. We tested it this morning on the crystal samples from the crashed Draconian scout ship. When activated, it creates a specific radio frequency pulse that destabilizes their technology, not forever but for about 6 minutes at a time. 6 minutes isn't long, Winters observed. It's enough if we use it right, Reyes said, understanding immediately. 6 minutes of their ships being blind and defenseless could change everything. Patel nodded. Exactly, but there's a problem. The range is limited. We'd need to get these devices close to their ships for them to work. Martinez picked up the disruptor, turning it over in his hands. How many can you make? With the resources we have hidden away, maybe 1,000. Not enough to take on their whole fleet directly. Martinez was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he looked at the 3 women. Maybe we don't need to take on their whole fleet, not directly anyway. A plan was forming in his mind. What we need is a way to make them think we're beaten while we prepare. 2 days later, Ambassador Sophia Williams was brought from her prison on the Draconian command ship to speak with Supreme Commander Zexakaltar. After 6 months as a prisoner, she looked thinner, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. Ambassador, the Draconian leader said, your people continue to resist, despite having no chance of victory. This is irrational. Williams kept her face calm, hiding her feelings. Humans can be stubborn when fighting for their home. Stubbornness without purpose is simply waste, Zexakaltar replied. Your General Martinez has requested peace talks. We are willing to discuss terms. Williams carefully hid her surprise. Martinez asking for peace talks? That didn't sound like the man she knew. There must be more to this. I would be willing to help facilitate these discussions, she said carefully. Good. You will be returned to Earth tomorrow to prepare your leadership for the inevitable. Make them understand that generous surrender is preferable to complete destruction. Back on Earth, Williams was taken to the Denver Command Center. Marines escorted her, watching for any Draconian tracking devices. Once she was cleared, Martinez met her in a secure room. Ambassador, it's good to see you alive, he said warmly. Likewise, General. Now tell me why you're suddenly interested in surrender talks when I know that's not your style. Martinez smiled slightly. Because we're going to surrender, just not in the way they think. He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared showing a complex plan. This is Operation Paper Tiger. Williams listened as Martinez explained. Humanity would appear to accept defeat, signing a peace treaty with harsh terms. But in reality, they would be buying time to deploy Dr. Patel's disruptors throughout the solar system. We can't win a direct fight, Martinez explained, but we might win if we make them think they've already won. A dangerous bluff, Williams said. The most dangerous in human history, Martinez agreed, but it's our only chance. Over the next month, the plan took shape. While Earth's forces continued to fight and lose battles in space, the disruptor technology was refined. Small teams tested it against captured draconian equipment. Each success brought new hope. Colonel Eric Daniels led the first real mission. A former Special Forces operator with a talent for getting in and out of impossible places, Daniels and his team were tasked with placing modified communication beacons throughout the solar system. Their ship was disguised as debris, using technology that masked their engine signatures. They floated past draconian patrols, carefully dropping beacons that looked like space junk but contained Patel's disruptors. Beacon 7 deployed, Daniels reported quietly, as they drifted near a draconian patrol route. 9 more to go on this run. His second-in-command, Sergeant Will Ross, monitored the draconian ships nearby. They're not paying any attention to us. They really think they've won. That's the idea, Daniels replied. They see what they expect to see. Debris from their victories. They don't expect traps. Meanwhile, Ambassador Williams prepared for her role in the peace negotiations. She practiced looking defeated, rehearsed concession speeches, and memorized the terms that would seem to give the Draconians everything they wanted. In hidden bases around Earth, soldiers trained with new tactics designed to work with the disruptor technology. Engineers modified civilian communication arrays to transmit the special frequencies when activated. Everything depended on perfect timing and absolute secrecy. One mistake, one leak, and the Draconians would realize they were being set up. Martinez looked at the latest reports from around the solar system. The pieces were falling into place. Now they just needed to convince the Draconians that humanity was truly beaten. Send the message to Zexakaltar, he told Williams during their final briefing. Tell him Earth is ready to discuss final surrender terms. Williams nodded solemnly. And if this doesn't work? If they see through our plan? Martinez's face was grim. Then humanity's most dangerous bluff will be our last. 1 year after the Draconians first appeared in Earth's solar system, the leaders of both sides gathered on the neutral ground of the repaired Harmony Station. The station still showed damage from the first attack, with scorch marks on walls, and temporary patches covering holes in some sections. Ambassador Sophia Williams led the human delegation. She wore a simple gray suit, her face carefully showing a mix of resignation and relief. This was the most important performance of her life. Behind her stood General Martinez and representatives from Earth's major regions. Each had been carefully chosen and prepared for their role in the deception. Supreme Commander Zexakaltar entered with 6 high-ranking Draconians. They moved with the confidence of victors, their scaled skin gleaming under the lights. Let us not waste time, Zexakaltar said, taking his seat at the large round table. You have reviewed our terms. Are they acceptable? Williams nodded slowly. They are harsh but fair, given the circumstances. Earth agrees to your terms with only minor adjustments to the resource collection schedule. Zexakaltar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of satisfaction in Draconian body language. Excellent. The Sol System Accord will bring order to your chaotic system. The treaty was displayed on screens around the room. Its terms were indeed harsh. Earth would remain independent but would provide regular payments of water, rare minerals, and biological samples. Mars and all outer colonies would be under Draconian control. Human military ships would be restricted to Earth orbit only. Williams signed first, her hand steady despite the cameras recording every moment. The ceremony was being broadcast to both Earth and the Draconian fleet. Humans around the world watched with mixed emotions as their leaders seemingly surrendered to alien demands. What the broadcasts didn't show were the small disruptor devices hidden throughout the station. One was concealed in Williams' ceremonial pen, another in Martinez's uniform button, and more in the gift items presented to the Draconian delegation as gestures of goodwill. After the signing, there was a small reception. Humans and Draconians mingled awkwardly, drinking from separate refreshment tables. Williams approached Zex Kaltar with a carved wooden box. "A token of Earth's commitment to our new relationship," she said, presenting the box. "It contains water from Earth's 5 oceans, symbolizing the resources we will share." Zex Kaltar took the gift with a slight nod. A primitive but acceptable gesture. He didn't notice the tiny device embedded in the box's ornate design. Another piece of the trap was set. Back on Earth, the public reaction to the treaty was mixed. Some people were angry, feeling that their leaders had given up too easily. Others were simply relieved that the destruction had stopped. Small protests broke out in major cities, quickly contained by police. This too was part of the plan. These controlled demonstrations helped convince the Draconians that humans were divided and demoralized. In an underground facility beneath Chicago, Lieutenant Kelly Hoffman prepared her special team for their mission. 12 men and women, all former Special Forces operators, gathered around a holographic display showing the new Draconian embassy in Washington, D.C. "Our job is simple but crucial," Hoffman explained. She was a compact woman with short blonde hair and intense focus. "We place Dr. Patel's devices in specific locations throughout the embassy during the official opening ceremony next week. Each of us will attend as support staff, servers, maintenance, security. We place our devices and leave. No engagement, no heroics." One of her team, Alan Reed, studied the building plans. "Their security will be tight. What if they scan for devices?" "The disruptors are inactive until triggered remotely," Hoffman replied, "and Dr. Patel has shielded them to appear as common electronic components. The Draconians believe we're primitive. Let's use that assumption against them." While Hoffman's team prepared, Dr. Patel worked with her scientists to complete the central control system. This complex computer would activate all disruptors simultaneously when the time came. They built it in an abandoned mine shaft in Colorado, safe from Draconian scanning technology. "The synchronization is the key," Patel explained to Martinez during his inspection visit. "If we activate the disruptors in sequence, they'll detect the pattern and adapt. But all at once, their systems will be overwhelmed." Martinez nodded, looking at the rows of computers and equipment. "How soon can it be ready?" 2 months, Patel said. "Maybe less if we get the components we need." "You'll get them," Martinez promised. "The Draconians are letting us maintain some manufacturing for the resources they want. We're diverting materials without them noticing." In space, the situation appeared to be stabilizing. Draconian ships patrolled freely throughout the solar system, but with less aggressive posture. They established large mining operations on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. Earth kept its visible military vessels close to home as required. What the Draconians didn't detect were the small, powered-down human ships hidden in asteroid fields and concealed in crater shadows. Captain Joseph Bennett commanded the supposedly decommissioned UDF Defiance, now hidden in a large crater on the far side of the moon. His ship was the first to be fully upgraded with the new disruptor-resistant shields. "Status report," Bennett requested, walking through the dimly lit bridge. The ship was running on minimal power to avoid detection. "All systems nominal," replied his first officer, Linda Warren. "Draconian patrol passed by 10 minutes ago. They didn't even slow down to look at this sector." Bennett smiled slightly. "Good. They're getting comfortable, just as planned." On Mars, the human colonists who had been allowed to remain as workers were actually Special Forces operatives led by Major Samantha Cooper. They had spent months mapping Draconian patrol routes and security systems while pretending to be compliant laborers. "Team 3 reports the main power generator is minimally guarded between shift changes," Cooper told her second-in-command as they worked in the hydroponics section of the Mars colony. 2 guards, 8-minute window. "Enough time to place a disruptor?" Cooper nodded. "Just barely. We'll do it tomorrow during the dust storm. The reduced visibility will help us." For 6 months after the treaty signing, humanity played the role of the defeated species. They provided the required resources, allowed draconian observers on Earth, and dismantled their visible military installations. Each seeming concession was actually another step in their plan. Admiral Morrison, released from draconian custody as part of the treaty, worked with Martinez to maintain the charade. In public, he spoke of cooperation and peaceful coexistence. In private, he helped coordinate the resistance. The Draconians are becoming complacent, Morrison told the Joint Military Council during a secure meeting. Their patrols are more predictable. They've reduced their military presence as they focus on resource extraction. Martinez nodded. It's working, but we need to maintain absolute secrecy for another 3 months. By then, all pieces will be in place. The room was silent, as everyone considered the stakes. If their deception was discovered too soon, Earth would have no defense against draconian retaliation. Everything depended on timing, secrecy, and the most dangerous bluff in human history. 3 more months, Morrison agreed. Then we show them who they're really dealing with. While publicly complying with the treaty, humans worked non-stop in hidden locations across Earth. Underground manufacturing centers operated at full capacity, producing thousands of disruptor devices. Each one was carefully tested, then distributed, through secret channels to operatives throughout the solar system. Captain Joseph Bennett stood in the cargo bay of the UDF Defiance, inspecting the newly installed weapons systems. The ship had been completely rebuilt over the past months. Its hull was reinforced with special materials that could resist draconian scanning. Its weapons were upgraded to work in conjunction with the disruptor technology. "How does she look?" asked Chief Engineer Paul Wilson, wiping grease from his hands. Wilson had worked miracles with limited resources, cannibalizing parts from decommissioned ships to upgrade the Defiance. "She looks like our best hope," Bennett replied. He ran his hand along a new missile launcher. "Will these work when the disruptors are active?" Wilson nodded. "That's the beauty of Dr. Patel's design. Our systems are shielded against the frequencies that affect draconian technology. When the disruptors activate, our weapons will work fine, but theirs will shut down." Throughout Earth's orbit, other ships were similarly modified and hidden. Some were disguised as debris. Others were concealed in old mining facilities on the moon. To draconian scanners, they appeared as abandoned equipment or space junk. In Washington, D.C., the new draconian embassy stood as a symbol of the aliens' presence on Earth. A tall crystal structure that glowed faintly at night. It housed the alien diplomats and military officers who oversaw Earth's compliance with the treaty. Lieutenant Kelly Hoffman walked calmly through the embassy's main hall, dressed in the uniform of the catering staff. A tray of drinks balanced in her hand as she moved among guests at the embassy's monthly reception. Her eyes constantly scanned for security measures and guard positions. "Northeast corner, 2 guards, regular patrol every 6 minutes." She whispered into her hidden microphone as she offered drinks to a group of human business people who collaborated with the Draconians. In her ear, she heard Alan Reed's voice. "Confirmed. I've placed devices in the West Wing bathrooms and the kitchen ventilation system." Hoffman continued her rounds, eventually making her way to the upper level where most Draconian offices were located. She placed her empty tray on a service counter and quickly ducked into a maintenance closet. From her sleeve, she removed a small disc-shaped device and attached it to the building's main power junction box. The disruptor blended perfectly with the existing electronics. "Package delivered," she reported quietly, exiting through service entrance. By the end of the night, 12 disruptors had been placed throughout the embassy, each one undetected by Draconian security. On Mars, Major Samantha Cooper's team faced greater challenges. The Draconian presence was much heavier in their mining colonies, and security was tighter. Cooper had spent months building trust, working diligently in the hydroponic section that provided food for the human workers. "They're expanding the Eastern Mining Complex," Cooper told her team during a brief meeting in the noisy maintenance bay where they could speak without being monitored. "That means more power requirements and more vulnerabilities." Her second-in-command, Ryan Foster, nodded. "The new power relays will be installed tomorrow. I've been assigned to the work crew. Perfect, Cooper said. The disruptors are in these component housings. She handed him what looked like ordinary electrical parts. They'll scan as standard Earth technology. Place them at the junction points we discussed. Foster took the disguised devices carefully. What about the command center? We still don't have access. Cooper smiled slightly. I've got that covered. I've been treating their commander's favorite plant for the past month. Tomorrow I deliver a new nutrient mix. On Europa, where the Draconians had established their main research base, similar activities were underway. Earth scientists, allowed to work under Draconian supervision, secretly placed disruptors throughout the facility. Each device was dormant, waiting for the signal that would activate them all at once. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison met with General Martinez and Dr. Patel in the underground command center. The room was secure, regularly swept for listening devices. Status report, Morrison said, his voice tired but determined. Martinez brought up a holographic display of the solar system. Small green dots appeared throughout the image, showing the location of each placed disruptor. We've achieved approximately 82% coverage of planned locations. The remaining 18% will be in place within 3 weeks. Patel pointed to specific clusters of dots. We have complete coverage of their main fleet positions, their command centers on Mars and Europa, and their embassy on Earth. The trigger system is ready and tested. Morrison studied the display. And our fleet? 42 ships fully upgraded and hidden throughout the system, Martinez replied. Another 18 will be ready within the month. It's not much compared to their forces, but with the disruptors active, it should be enough. What about civilian casualties? Morrison asked. There are still thousands of our people working in Draconian facilities. All key personnel have been briefed, Martinez assured him. When the signal comes, they'll move to secure locations. We've established emergency evacuation procedures disguised as safety drills. Morrison nodded slowly. And the trigger? Who activates it? Ambassador Williams, Patel said. She'll be attending the biannual tribute ceremony with Supreme Commander Zex Kaltar. The ceremonial necklace she'll wear contains the master trigger. One touch, and every disruptor in the system activates simultaneously. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Poetic justice. They began this with deception at a diplomatic meeting. We'll end it the same way. The next 2 months passed with rising tension. The humans continued their act of submission while completing their preparations. The Draconians, believing they had won, grew increasingly comfortable in their control of the solar system. Draconian ships reduced their patrol frequencies. Security checks became more routine and less thorough. They believed the humans were fully pacified, capable only of small, easily suppressed rebellions. Each minor act of resistance that was quickly put down only reinforced the Draconians' sense of superiority. What they didn't realize was that these rebellions were carefully orchestrated by Martinez. Each one allowed humans to position more assets or gather more intelligence while maintaining the illusion of defeat. Captain Bennett received his final orders while the Defiance remained hidden in the lunar crater. Prepare for action, the encoded message read. Operation Paper Tiger enters final phase in 7 days. Bennett gathered his crew. This is it, the moment we've been preparing for. Check all systems, run final diagnostics, and be ready to move. On my command. Across the solar system, similar messages went out to hidden ships and resistance cells. Everything was nearly in place. The most elaborate trap in human history was ready to be sprung. On Earth, Ambassador Williams prepared for her most important performance. The biannual tribute ceremony would take place in 3 days. She studied her ceremonial necklace, the disguised trigger device looking like an ordinary jewel at its center. Is it ready? She asked Patel during their final meeting. The scientist nodded. One press, hold for 3 seconds, and every disruptor we've placed will activate simultaneously. Their technology will fail across the entire system. Williams took a deep breath. And then the real war begins. No, Patel corrected, her with a grim smile. Then the real war ends on our terms. The day of the biannual tribute ceremony arrived. In the Grand Hall of the Draconian Embassy in Washington, D.C., humans and aliens gathered for what had become a regular ritual of Earth submission. The room gleamed with crystalline decorations, and large windows showed the clear blue sky outside. Ambassador Sophia Williams entered wearing a formal blue dress. Around her neck hung the ceremonial necklace, its central jewel containing the master trigger for humanity's trap. She walked confidently, showing the perfect amount of respectful submission to maintain the deception. Supreme Commander Zex Kaltar sat on an elevated chair at the front of the hall, watching with his 4 eyes as human representatives brought forward containers of water, rare minerals, and biological samples, the tribute required by the treaty. The Sol system continues to provide well, Zex Kaltar said to his officers. The humans have finally accepted their place in the natural order. Williams approached the Draconian leader last, carrying a small golden box. This was the moment everything had been building toward for nearly 2 years. Supreme Commander, she said, bowing slightly. Earth presents this special tribute to mark the 2nd successful year of our agreement. She opened the box, revealing a small crystal that matched Draconian aesthetic designs. It was actually made from pieces of the destroyed Draconian scout ship, reworked by human artisans. A primitive but acceptable effort, Zex Kaltar said, taking the offering. Williams stepped back, her right hand rising to touch her necklace, as if adjusting it. Her fingers found the disguised trigger, and she pressed it firmly, holding for 3 seconds as instructed. Nothing visibly happened in the room. The ceremony continued, but across the solar system, thousands of disruptor devices simultaneously activated. On the Draconian flagship orbiting Earth, the lights suddenly flickered. Control panels went dark. Weapons systems failed. The confused crew tried to restore power, not understanding what was happening. Similar scenes played out on every Draconian ship throughout the system. Their crystalline technology, vulnerable to the precisely calibrated frequencies, began failing systematically. In orbit around Earth's moon, Captain Joseph Bennett stood on the bridge of the UDF Defiance as his communications officer reported, "Disruptors active. Draconian fleet showing power fluctuations across the board. All hands to battle stations," Bennett ordered. "Launch now." The Defiance rose from its hiding place in the lunar crater, engines glowing at full power. Around it, other hidden human ships emerged from concealment. They moved quickly toward the disoriented Draconian vessels. On Mars, Major Samantha Cooper gave the signal to her team as the lights in the mining facility dimmed. "Move now. Secure the control center." Her forces, hidden among the workers for months, pulled hidden weapons from maintenance panels and storage containers. They moved swiftly through the facility, taking control of key systems while the Draconian guards struggled with malfunctioning equipment. Similar uprisings occurred simultaneously on Europa and other outposts throughout the system. The Draconians, their technology disabled and their forces scattered, couldn't mount a coordinated defense. Back in the embassy on Earth, Zex Kaltar's personal communicator emitted a harsh static sound. The commander tapped it impatiently. "What is happening?" he demanded. Williams watched calmly as confusion spread among the Draconian officials. Outside the windows, she could see human military vehicles surrounding the embassy, forces that had been hidden nearby, waiting for this moment. Admiral Morrison entered the hall, no longer wearing civilian clothes but his full military uniform. He walked directly to Williams, ignoring the increasingly agitated Draconians. "The operation is proceeding as planned," he told her quietly. "Bennett reports, all Draconian ships in Earth orbit have been neutralized. Cooper has secured the Mars facility. Europa will be ours within the hour." Williams nodded, then turned to face Zex Kaltar, who was now standing, his posture showing anger and confusion. "What have you done?" the Draconian commander demanded. Morrison stepped forward. "Exactly what you did to us 2 years ago. We deceived you." His voice was calm but firm. "Your ships are disabled. Your bases are being captured as we speak. Your technology has been compromised. Zex Kaltar's scales darkened with anger. Impossible. Your primitive species could not. We're not as primitive as you thought, Morrison interrupted. Humans have been bluffing each other for thousands of years. We've turned deception into an art form. On the main view screen in the hall, images appeared showing draconian ships floating powerless in space, human vessels moving to surround them. Other screens showed the captured mining facilities on Mars and the surrendering draconian forces on Europa. The peace treaty was never about surrender, Williams explained. It was about giving us time to study your weaknesses and position our forces. In orbit, Bennett's fleet surrounded the draconian flagship. With their weapons and shields disabled, the aliens had no choice but to surrender. Admiral, Bennett reported via secure channel, we have control of their main fleet. Minimal casualties on both sides. Morrison nodded with satisfaction. Well done, Captain. Zex Kaltar looked at the humans with new understanding. The treaty, the concessions, the tributes, all were part of your strategy. Every gift contained hidden components, Williams confirmed. Every concession allowed us to position assets. Every tribute carried disguised technology. Dr. Patel entered the hall carrying a datapad. She had monitored the disruptor network from a secure location nearby. All systems functioning within parameters, she reported. The disruptors will remain active for another 4 hours before requiring recharge. More than enough time, Morrison said. He turned to Zex Kaltar. Now, Supreme Commander, let's discuss new terms. Ones that establish actual peace between equals. The draconian leader looked around at his officers. Their weapons useless. Their communications dead. With their forces neutralized and their supply lines cut, they had no choice. You have orchestrated the most elaborate military deception I have encountered in my career, Zex Kaltar admitted. What are your terms? Williams stepped forward with a new document. This treaty establishes boundaries within the solar system. Earth maintains control of Mars and the inner planets. Your people may establish mining operations in the outer system with fair payment for resources. There will be cultural and technological exchange as equals, not masters and servants. As news of the victory spread throughout human territories, celebrations erupted. People who had lived under alien domination for 2 years finally understood the truth. Their surrender had been a strategic deception, part of the greatest military bluff in history. On the UDF Defiance, Bennett addressed his crew. What we've accomplished today will be remembered for generations, not just the victory but how we achieved it, through intelligence, patience, and unity. Back on Earth, as the new treaty was prepared, Morrison stood with Williams, Patel, and Martinez on the embassy balcony, looking out over Washington, D.C. Do you think they'll honor these terms? Williams asked. They will, Morrison replied confidently. Because now they understand something important about humans. We are at our most dangerous when we appear defeated. Martinez nodded in agreement. The peace treaty deceived everyone, except those who created it. As the sun set over Earth, news of the victory traveled to the farthest human outpost. The species they had dismissed as primitive had orchestrated the most elaborate deception in the galaxy's history. From this day forward, any alien civilization considering Earth as a target would remember the legend of humanity's most dangerous bluff. The war was over. But humanity's reputation as a force to be reckoned with was just beginning.